Welcome back to the Tool Crib. You know, in today's world of multi-tools, plier-based multi-tools, there is a common problem that you have, and it's been this way since pretty much the inception of the plier-based multi-tool, is that you have four outside accessible tools. Not necessarily outside accessible. Let's call them outbound tools, because there are tools like the Swiss tool or the Super Tool 300, where those outside implements aren't necessarily outside accessible, but they're able to make them longer because they pass by the pliers inside of the tool, and so they're able to make them longer. So the four tools that you generally will get is going to be a knife blade, a saw blade, knife blade, serrated blade, saw blade, and a file. Those are the general tools that you're going to get on the outbound side. Now, with the Surge, the Leatherman Surge, which I have here, they get around this problem and they're able to add outside accessible scissors, which a lot of people like, including myself. So to combat this problem, the way they fix it is they're able to add a T-shank adapter. Now they're able to do that because this tool is a little bit larger than some of your other tools, and so it's actually feasible to have a saw blade and a file that would occupy the same slot. The benefit to the Surge is because it has a T-shank adapter, and it's a common jigsaw Bosch T-shank adapter, you can put accessory blades on it. So in my case, I don't even use the saw blade anymore. I use a Linux blade that stays with my pouch at all times for the times that I need to do wood cutting, because this blade is a lot longer, gives you a better stroke, just does a better overall cutting job. It really does. But now you're able to add on accessory blades, such as this specific PVC blade. You can add blades like this carbide edge blade or the diamond edge blade. Those are all very, very nice. And in the case of my Leatherman Surge, which is a pretty heavily modified Surge, I added in a package opener that came out of a Leatherman Wave. So the Leatherman Surge is very versatile for the fact that it's not hindered by that four slot problem. You would think that would make it the most popular, but though it is very, very popular, that title belongs to the Leatherman Wave. Now, no matter which brand of multi-tool that you tend to gravitate towards, there's no denying the fact that the Leatherman Wave Plus is the absolute best-selling multi-tool on the planet, and it's not even close. And there's a lot of reasons for that we'll get into in a later video. But today we're going to be talking about a couple of easy, quick modifications that you can do to the Leatherman Wave, and then one modification or one change I think they can make to the Leatherman Wave Plus that would make it even more popular. Now, there are a couple of modifications out there that are pretty common with the Leatherman Wave, a couple that we're going to go over here. And at some point here on the channel, we're probably going to try a couple of these just to see how easy they are, or how difficult they might be. So one of the first ones that you see, and one of the most common, is getting an awl into the Leatherman Wave Plus. It's one of the tools that a lot of people feel that it's missing. And you can do that by taking one out of a Leatherman rebar. You have to replace the scissors. Now, the beauty of this modification is it's actually not that labor intensive. Basically, it's just switching everything out. You might have to do a little bit of modification. I've heard some say that they don't. I've heard others say that they have to do a little bit of file work on it just to get the pliers to clear correctly. But because they use the same kind of interlock system and they use the same pin size, it's not super labor intensive, and it's one of the most common mods that you'll see on a Leatherman Wave Plus. Now, by putting that mod in, a lot of people also don't like to get rid of the scissors. So what they'll do is they'll take scissors out of a Leatherman Wingman and they will eliminate the serrated blade and put in Wingman scissors, because again, it uses the same type of mechanism. It's actually a pretty easy modification to do. I personally don't like this mod as much as others, and it's not because I don't like outside accessible scissors. It's because I don't particularly like the scissors that are on the Leatherman Wingman. I find them to be a little subpar for me. Now, they'll do fine. They do fine for cutting through paper, stuff like poster board, but if you're getting into cutting into larger cardboard, or if you're trying to cut paracord or a small diameter rope, they're not real great. I personally think that it's a better option to go with a smaller Victorinox knife, though you might not necessarily get the same length of scissors. These scissors will actually outperform those of the Leatherman Wave Plus. So I personally don't care for this one as much as others, but I understand why they do it. Now, one of the things that they got right when they came out with the Leatherman Free series, both the Free P2 and P4, is they put a good set of outside accessible scissors onto those two tools. The problem is for Leatherman Wave users, it uses a completely different lock mechanism. And so taking the scissors out of a Free series and adding them as outside accessible scissors into the Leatherman Wave is really not an option. So it's one of the only things that the Free series actually did better than the Leatherman Wave Plus, in my opinion. Now, there's a couple little nuanced things that I like with the Free series, but on the whole, I'm not a huge fan of the Free series of tools. So here's an idea, and I know we talk about changing the Leatherman Wave Plus a lot, and people think, oh, you just don't like the Leatherman. That's not true. I like the Leatherman Wave, but I think that Leatherman could really benefit by changing a couple things or making different variants of the Leatherman Wave Plus. And you take your most popular frame size, you add different tools onto the Leatherman Wave Plus, and I guarantee you people are going to buy them. I guarantee you they're going to buy them, especially in the modding community. So here's my idea of one simple thing that I think that they could do to the Leatherman Wave Plus that would make it a little more popular, in my opinion. Now, I am a big fan of the serrated blade on multi-tools. And the reason I'm a big fan of it is because in construction, I do a lot of cutting on man-made materials. So on different ropes and stuff. It's also good for regular material too, such as leather. But they do a great job of cutting through fibrous materials such as rope. I do a lot of that, and that's the reason why I like to have the serrated blade. So I don't want to get rid of it in what I would consider a better modified version. But two things I think they could do. First of all, is they redesigned scissors that would go in this outside slot where the serrated blade is. Now, I still want the serrated blade on there, so how do you eliminate or how do you alleviate that problem? Well, there's two multi-tools that actually have pretty decent little serrated blades. Now, with serrated blades, you don't necessarily need a 3-inch blade in order to accomplish what you need to do with a serrated blade for cutting through rope and stuff. So I think if they put a smaller version of a serrated blade in place of the scissors, move the scissors to the outside, such as you get with the, well, they don't have scissors, but with the Leatherman Sidekick and the Leatherman Crunch, where they have a smaller serrated blade, that might work out pretty well. In fact, I think that the one off of the Leatherman Crunch might very well just fit as a drop-in into that tool. I don't know that for sure. I'd have to break them down to see. But if they had outside accessible scissors, something a little bit better than what those Wingman scissors are, more in the style of what you get in the Free series, where there are quite a bit better scissors, I think that modification or that change would go over really well, because then you still have the 5 tools. Now, obviously, you're limiting the effectiveness a little bit of the serrated blade, but not to the point where it's not useful. Where in the case if you're doing a file like they've done in the Free series of tools, I don't think that file is very effective. That file needs to stay on the outside to make a full-length file that is actually usable. And so I don't want to see that file, or the saw blade for that matter, get removed from the outside accessible tools. But I think they could get away with it in the serrated blade. You put a little smaller one in here, you add outside accessible scissors. I think that would go over really well. Now, keeping along this theme of variant Leatherman Wave tools, I think 3, and now we've touched on a few of these. The serrated blade that's in, and probably it'd have to be more so in the style of the Leatherman Sidekick, because it had to be angled on the top here so that when it closed, that the pliers would actually clear the top. So I think that would be a good idea. And then adding outside accessible scissors, because boy, if you added outside accessible scissors kind of in the style of the Free series, maybe not carbon copies, but a very good scissor, something that's better than what the Wave has now, I think that would go over really, really well. The awl is also another tool that they should add into the Leatherman Wave Plus in some kind of variant. And one that I'm very fond of is the Wingman package opener. Now, this can even be made shorter where it would fit. You wouldn't have to worry about it necessarily clearing the pliers. You can make it so it's a little bit shorter. It would still work quite effectively. I think that would be a very, very good option to have in a variant of the Leatherman Wave Plus as well. Now, I know we talk about changing, or I talk about changing, or different ways to modify the Leatherman Wave Plus, and one of the comments I get a lot is, "Oh, you just don't like the Leatherman Wave." That's not true at all. I like the Leatherman Wave Plus quite a bit, actually. I think it's deservedly the most popular multi-tool on the planet. But I think there are ways that they could make some variants of it that would even boost its popularity. My name is Ben. You've been watching the Texas Tool Crib. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next one.